All right, welcome tonight to the King of Sparta Flyweight Series, Sparta 80, brought to you by Arapahoe Kia. Todd Romero along with CEO Jeff Cisneros and Big Mo, Kody to the left side of me as we get you set for another great evening tonight. But before we get started tonight, let's recap last night's lightweight series at 155 pounds. And we saw the final come down to Eric Adams, the number 1 seed, and Jacoby Jones, the 3 seed. Jacoby Jones was a 4-time RMAC wrestler, conference champion, an All-American wrestler. The question was, could he get there with the striking with boxing first, Jeff, and then followed up by kickboxing?
We talked about it. We knew he was going to be dangerous. We also knew that he was over at Jackson's, and head coach Jeremy Kimball, who is also a UFC veteran, known for his world-class striking. We knew that there was going to be something special about that kid. I was blown away at the level of boxing that he showed against a very tough Dean Cotton, and then kickboxing versus Brandon Taylor, who just is tough as nails.
Yeah.
We knew when he got to the final that Eric had his word cut out for him.
When you take a look at it, Mo, when you're in that ring and you're there watching, you're in between rounds, you're in between fights, and you're watching it develop, because as we saw last night, most of them went the distance out of. I think we had 14 fights last night. Only 2 were finishes the whole night long, and the finish came in the final. But watching him mature along, I was worried about the kickboxing because, as you saw, going against Gummy Bear in there, that was the one that I was a little bit worried about, because Brandon kind of starts a little bit slow and then warms up.
About before that the key to King of Sparta, when you look at the intangibles, the biggest one for me is the conditioning, right? It's about how quickly can you finish your initial fights so you have all that energy saved up for the main event. Now, at the same time, you don't want to rush through your fights and get caught with something. So when you look at Jacoby Jones, who was a collegiate wrestler, not just a collegiate wrestler, but a champion, the conditioning was on point, and Jackson's MMA, I know, focuses on that. You could see him. Dude's rocked out, clearly in shape. I definitely think that his cardiovascular energy is really what made him last.
And Jeff, looking at the King of Spartas in the past, I don't know if we ever saw this before last night, all the fights went the distance until the final. And usually you'll see somebody that get the quick finishes like LT Nelson has done to kind of save that gas in the tank. But these guys, it ended up being Eric Adams, who fought a great fight to get to that championship. But just outclassed so far in the MMA version of it, because Jacoby Jones with that wrestling, he said it going in. And you and I had talked about it before the fight, that if this guy gets to the MMA final, it's going to be tough beating him.
Yeah, look, what do we know about wrestlers? They are the toughest athletes on the planet. They're the grinders, right? But the whole purpose of building King of Sparta is you've got to be able to box, and then you got to be able to kickbox, and then you got to be able to have enough gas in the tank. Jacoby looked fresh like it was his first fight in the MMA round. So he was very impressive. I was also very impressed with Jesse Morehouse, the other kid from New Mexico, from Jackson's MMA. That was a close fight. He gave Eric Adams all he wanted in the kickboxing round, and had he come forward and landed a few more shots, that could have been a split decision the other way.
I saw the pre-interview fight with him and how much he trained and how hard he trained. He was in shape for that fight. And the one thing I think is the beautiful part of King of Sparta is the fact that when you're a young fighter now on the amateur level, that was the first amateur one. Tonight will be the second one at 125 pounds. Number one, it gives these kids an opportunity to fight for a little bit of money. $3,000 is pretty good prize money when you get through it. But the second thing is, when you're an amateur, the thing you want to do is elevate your game all the way. This is 3 fights in 1 if you're able to make it to that final. What that does for your experience level going forward is huge for these kids.
As fighters, they never want to be one-dimensional. So if you're an amateur fighter, in my opinion, your whole goal should be to craft and to polish all the skills that you have. So it was really interesting watching people like Namir Singleton, who's a kickboxer. He throws kicks. Clearly, he wasn't as comfortable in the boxing ring. First round, he looked pretty good, but quickly he learned that there's so many subtle nuances and different techniques that you got to know to be successful. I think as a lot of these guys look to pursue careers in MMA, I think that a lot of the amateur fighters are starting to realize, like, I might be good with kicks. I might be good with submissions. Maybe I got to work on my striking, got to work on my takedown defense. Eric Adams was smothered all fight last night by Jacoby Jones.
Yeah, once it got there, I think that's an excellent point. You got to have everything. Now, people look at Justin Gaethje, who will be in attendance tonight, is a guy that is an All-American wrestler, but he's won Fight of the Night, 6 times in a row because of how he brings it, which leads us to tonight at 125 pounds. That is going to be an unbelievable, because there's electricity. These guys are fast, razor sharp, and El Dudo comes in as the number 1 seed. But this is a stacked card.
This is probably one of the most stacked tournaments that we have put together, whether pro or amateur side. And the reason being, you legitimately have 6 of the top 10 amateurs in the country in MMA in this card, and a lot of mutual opponent combatives. These guys have fought each other in different sports in different ways. I mean, I'm fired up about it. You know, the guys are upset because they're the 4 and 5 seed that are former SCL champions that are undefeated in MMA. But, you know, Anel Dudo is a number 1 seed for a reason. He's got tons of boxing, tons of kickboxing, tons of MMA. You know, number 2, Aaron Taylor from Jackson's in New Mexico. He is very impressive. Undefeated in boxing, undefeated in kickboxing, and only 1 loss in MMA, I believe. He's going to be a tough out. But legitimately, we're going to see some chaos tonight. And I won't be surprised if 1 wins it or if 8 wins it. Like, that's how close it is tonight. It's going to be crazy.
And I think when you go in with a fight like that, and you've got, you know, the proteges, you've got the guys that are trained at the gyms with these guys, and it brings them out. And you saw it last night. I mean, the energy from the crowd, and you see it firsthand being in there. And if you haven't been out to a Sparta event, you should get out here, because it's one of the best regional promotions that is in the country. And so many fighters have gone on from this promotion, and they'll be here tonight. The Grant Neals of the world.
Well, I think the reason why is because Sparta's not an MMA organization. They're not a kickboxer. They're not a Muay Thai. They're not a boxing. They have it all, which is what we were talking about. And that's why when you look at the King of Sparta tonight, I know that I'm not being too original by picking the number 1 seed, but Anel Dudo's resume is insane. Now, a Family Affair Boxing with Coach Fidel Martinez, he harps on that. He does not want his fighters to be one-dimensional, which is why he's my favorite tonight. I was in Vegas in January watching him compete in a Muay Thai event. I've seen him box. I've seen him kickbox. I've seen him do MMA. He's got it all.
Yeah, he really does. And, you know, the biggest thing about it, when we're talking about how big this is for the state commission to approve this, let's not forget the professional King of Sparta debuted at Pepsi Center June of 2018.
Yeah.
What a lot of people don't know is it took 3 years for me fighting with the commission to get that approved. And I was like, look, we're doing Pepsi Center. We need something big. Here's the idea. And it caught on like wildfire. Since that point, an interesting fact about the seeding is the number 1 seed has made it to the final in every single tournament, King or Queen of Sparta, pro or Ami, but has only won it twice.
For those that don't know, Jeff, what was involved in getting your brainchild to the table? Because you sit back and you look at it, man, that's a great idea. How you get these guys 3 fights in a night, all 3 different disciplines. Yep. How are you able to finally get it over to them?
Well, so basically, you know, what I did is the number 1, the biggest concern is the amount of fights and rounds. But I'm like, look at a championship boxing fight, 10 rounds, 12 rounds, and 90% of the blows are to the head. I'm a huge boxing fan, as you know, and so that's why I wanted boxing to be the first part of the tournament. You talk about complete combat sports athletes, right? Like I was joking the other day, who's the real baddest MF? It's whoever wins these tournaments.
Yeah.
Because it's boxing, kickboxing, and MMA all in one. They're polishing their skills. And as an amateur elimination fighter, you get an opportunity to see where you rank. Like tonight, whoever wins this, they could go pro, and nobody would question it. The top 2 guys in this tournament, the top 4 guys in this tournament, depending on how they show out, can go pro, are ready to go pro. But they're smart. They're picking the toughest fights. They're seeing like a tournament like tonight. This shows really where you are in the scene.
And it shows how good you can be. It can also show you, like Singleton. I think that's a fighter that has a lot of potential, but he hasn't put it together yet. And I think that also this type of tournament can show you what you're weak at, what you have to go back to the gym and do.
Funny you brought that up, Jeff. I was watching the movie Warrior about 2 weeks ago with Tom Hardy, and I was sitting with my roommates. They go, "This is crazy, a tournament for combat sports? How do they have time to recover?" That movie was over 2 days.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there like, we do this in one night. Yeah. I've seen it multiple times now.
Well, we originally did the King of Sparta tournament 8 or 9 years ago, King of Sparta heavyweight tournament, but it was an 8-man MMA tournament, right?
Oh, wow.
You know what happened? Injury. Every time you see an 8-man MMA tournament, there's been an injury. So if you look at the way we've structured this, rarely do you see a cut or an injury in boxing in the first 4 rounds. Okay, then you take it to kickboxing, you wipe out the elbows so you don't get the nasty cut, and then you go to MMA, and that was like a big part of it is like, man, I really want Muay Thai in there, but no, you don't. You're going to lose some fights because of the cuts. Somebody's going to get whacked with the cut. So yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be great. The production team has put together some great crossroll tonight. We talked about Anel Dudo, number 2 Aaron Taylor, number 3. We got in the 3 seed. Who do we have there?
We got 3 seed is over here. Jason
Scott. He's tough as nails. He fought Aaron Lopez in a barn burner in a kickboxing match out Budweiser Event Center.
Yep.
The most interesting fight in the quarterfinals is the 4-5. Miguel Perez versus Jorge. And the reason being is those guys are 2 gangsters in MMA. Miguel, though, is under the tutelage of Corey Sandhagen, number 3 ranked UFC fighter. Corey's another one. He would walk into this tournament and he would have wiped it out as a pro because that's his game. Striking, kickboxing, boxing, ground. He's the evolution of the product. So a lot of people were really upset about Miguel being the 4 seed. But we're going to see. It doesn't matter. If you're 1 or 8, you're going to have to walk
You
got to
take care
tonight.
of business.
You're going to go through hell to win this tournament tonight. Nobody's going to breeze through it.
And that's a great thing about coming out to Jeffco here, where it is tonight, and coming to Sparta, is that not only do you see the fighters on the card that are up and coming, but the guys that have made it that come back here to kind of to support the fighters that are in here. And this, I mean, you're talking about Curtis Blades tonight, Justin Gaethje tonight, Sandhagen's going to be here. I mean, fighters that are ranked fighters that are coming out here to show their wares. So the 125-pound tournament is going to be fantastic. But Jeff, there's some pro MMA on this card tonight that's going to be out of control. I look at Archie Colgan and Jamal Shaw. That's going to be a barn burner.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so, Archie is also another product of the Genesis system and trains with Justin Gaethje. Immediately, Justin Sells, when he called me, he said, this guy is going to remind you a lot of Gaethje, a lot like Gaethje. He's a savage. And it's easy to say that when you see somebody in training, but till you see him under the lights, what happens in November? He's fighting a D1 level wrestler. He comes out and he delivers probably knockout of the year.
Rocked
him. So we haven't seen a lot of his wrestling yet. He's going to need it tonight. Jamal Shaw is a number 1 ranked contender. He fought the champion Josh Cordova in a barn burner split decision that could have went either way. So they want to move Archie fast. They want him tested. They're in the right fight.
Oh, yeah. And I think, what's interesting about Jamal Shaw, and I always get asked, the tail of the tapes always come up. What do you look at most? For me, granted, I'm a tall guy, but it's reach. And Jamal Shaw is going to have that advantage tonight. But what's weird about Jamal Shaw is, yes, he's long, but when he's performing his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, specifically on his back, he is so slippery and sneaky with it. Next thing, you'll blink and you'll be in a triangle choke. You're like, whoa, what happened?
And the jiu-jitsu, that is the part of it that when you're good at it, you can be good at all disciplines. That's a wild card to me because from different angles, from different positions, you can finish fights.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, Jamal's dangerous on all levels. Archie, though, we were talking about it earlier, it's very rare that you get a fighter that's got speed and power. And let's not forget, I think a 2 or 3 time state champion wrestler at Pomona.
Yep.
A prodigy of a school there too.
Yep.
Really, I guess the plan is to move him to 55 eventually. He does look undersized to me versus Jamal, but he's got that power.
Yeah.
Manny Pacquiao level power that will put your lights out and allows guys to transcend to different weight classes that they don't belong in. I'm really pumped for that one. And then, the other fight that's going to be interesting is Hector Leon, U.S. Army veteran.
And Jack Gerard.
Making a pro debut, Jack Gerard. It's been a while since Jack's fought. We last saw him fight for us in Vegas. So I think that was August of 2018. Hector, it's just been on the tear. One of the top-ranked 135-pound amateurs that was out there. Ready to go pro. So this fight's interesting for me. Who can implement their game plan? Who has the better wrestling? Who has the better jiu-jitsu? Who has the better striking? They are going to come out and strike, though, because that's Jack's style and that's Hector's style. And then we'll see some very high-level mixed martial arts out of those two.
So whereas last night we didn't see many finishes, you're predicting a few tonight?
Yeah. There's no doubt. We're going to see some. It's too explosive to not happen. Too explosive.
The other one I'm looking at, too, is you got a Muay Thai fight in here tonight with Connor Owens and Henry Mejia.
Man, okay, Connor Owens is from Easton Muay Thai.
Right.
We know they know how to do Muay Thai under head coach Sean Madden. What's fun about that is the elbows, right? It's funny because I never liked elbows because I was like, I've never seen elbows end fights other than a cut. And then what happens? Like literally in a fight, boom, spinning elbow, knockout a few years ago. Henry Mejia, great Muay Thai practitioner as well. That's going to be very exciting. And that's what I love about these combat sports shows.
Different.
We saw it last night. We had boxing fans that are only boxing fans that are like, oh, that's interesting. What is that? Kickboxing?
Right.
That's MMA. And over the last 2 years, it's really brought the two together, and the crowds have gotten bigger and bigger. But, let's be realistic. Everybody's here for King of Sparta Flyweight Series tonight, and then the bonuses are the other fights we talked about. The one fight I do want to touch on is Dylan King versus Bradley McDonald at the 135-pound title. That is going to be a barn burner. Dylan is vicious. He is mean. He's trying to put your lights out every minute of the fight. Bradley showed his resiliency in his last few fights, won 3 or 4 in a row. It's going to be a good fight.
You love it, the guys that put it out on the line, and we saw it last night. I mean, you can't turn your back for a moment. You can't have a down moment. You've got to be up on your toes all the time because they're ready to take you out, which is the way it should be.
Yeah. For me, I've been around a lot of high-performance athletes in a variety of sports. The reason why I've fallen in love with combat sports specifically is the discipline that fighters have to exhibit during a fight camp, in the preparation, in learning new techniques. And really, truly, you have to be a perfectionist because, like you said, if you make a mistake, that can end the fight.
Yep.
It can't just be, he landed more punches and then that's the fight's over. It's like, okay, well, if I make this mistake, I'm out. I make this mistake, my arm slips through, I'm in an arm bar. I make this mistake, he's taking me down. I think that when you look at guys that have executed so many disciplines, that's what makes a complete fighter to me. That's what makes them amazing athletes that impress me every single night. Look, I get the best seat in the house. I get to be in the middle. I get to sit ringside. I get to listen to the coaches. I've fallen in love with the sport for that reason. These kids, these guys are incredible.
Your passion, when we were doing, altitude TV boxing fights, I mean, we were losing our stuff live. It's just fun. It's it's so awesome. Have either of you gentlemen read that book, The Rise of Superman?
That's right.
It's by Stephen Kotler. So basically, The Rise of Superman is about extreme athletes, skateboarding and everything.
Right.
And they get into a state of flow, right? It's flow.
Where they're just in a zone.
They're in a zone. That's what I attribute the King of Sparta winners to. Like Jacoby Jones last night, he was in flow. LT Nelson 2 times. It was just too fluent. He was in flow. And it's amazing for me, and I'm fascinated with that, to watch that. And one thing that I want to talk about before we move too far on, Sparta Sports and Entertainment, we're huge in the community, as we talked about.
Yes.
Tonight, we have a very special cause as well. Production team will put up our benefit that we're benefiting tonight. Vivian, she's battling cancer. She's fighting for her life right now, has 2 small children, and an incredible husband, Nick. We're going to post the link to their GoFundMe, and if you're in Arena, you'll be able to make a donation to the family as well.
And that's one thing that you have to know, that every single event that Sparta is a part of, there's always somebody that we're trying to help out. Jeff has made that part of his mission statement for his company, is to go forward and make sure that there's some good that comes out of everything, not just for the fighters, but those that are in this community that may need a helping hand in that case. And what it does, I've been involved with a lot of sports. NHL, NBA, pro football. The one thing I love about combat sports, and yes, you're going to have your rivalries, the sportsmanship. These guys can come on and lay it on the line in between those bells. They want to take the other guy out, and afterwards, it's so cool to see. It's part of the sport that I really love.
Yeah, you see him having drinks in the crowd after 2 black guys.
Hey man, that was awesome. I mean, where else do you see that? You don't see it very well. You don't see it often.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just excited. I'm blessed that we get to do this. It's like, why do you do it 2 nights back to back? Why not? 'Cause it's fun. It's incredible. Provides this incredible platform for these guys. And then, in April 25th, AVM, Army versus Marines 11. If you haven't been to that event,
it's great. It's an awesome event, man, and get involved with it. So tonight, I'm getting back to it. Who's your dark horse? If you had to pick a dark horse in the top 8, who's your dark horse? Angel Dudo, obviously favored to win, as the number 1 seed. With all those killers that you got in here, who's Jeff Cisneros' dark horse?
Who's dangerous because of his power is the number 8 seed, Tyler Ashton.
Really?
He's got nasty power, and if you get caught slipping, he can put you to sleep. So he is by far the dark horse in the tournament. Everything else in front of him my goodness, it's just so stacked. It's who's in flow tonight, and hopefully we get 2.
So you can almost put the numbers in a hat.
Yes.
You can put the numbers in a hat and really draw them that way.
This honestly was taking a set of dice and throwing them on the table.
Yeah.
Because any guy has a legitimate shot. Any guy has a legitimate shot in here.
Fellas, as we get ready, we want to thank Arapahoe Kia for this pre-fight opportunity. The King of Sparta Flyweight Series, Sparta 80 tonight, Jefferson County Fairgrounds. Dial in. It should be absolutely outstanding. For Jeff Cisneros and for King Mo, I'm Todd Romero. We'll see you ringside in moments.